Welcome to Fresh Start with Jason Cline.
Welcome back to the Fresh Start podcast with attorney Jason Cline, founder of the law office of Jason Cline in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Jason helps individuals and families across New Mexico find clarity and confidence through Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy solutions. I'm Evan Mack, and today we're talking about whether someone can file bankruptcy more than once and what people in New Mexico should understand before considering another filing. Jason, welcome back, sir.
Oh, thank you, Evan. It's great to see you again.
Good to see you too, Jason. So how common is it for someone to ask whether they can file bankruptcy again after they've already gone through the process once?
Yeah, it's actually relatively common. I do see clients more than once, and I have people who have filed with other attorneys that come and talk to me as well after they've already had a bankruptcy filing. So it does happen, and it's nothing to feel ashamed of. Especially in this day and age here, nobody could have predicted what was going to happen in these previous few years here. A global pandemic that put people out of work, this massive inflation that's just made groceries go up by like 4 times and gas too. So these things were not anticipated, and there really wasn't a way to anticipate something like this. So needing to file more than once, it happens, and don't feel ashamed.
Is it actually possible to file bankruptcy more than once, like you said? But what factors determine whether someone is eligible for that?
All right. Well, the first thing is going to be time. If you filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, then it's going to be 8 years before you can file another Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So with if you're going from Chapter 7 to Chapter 13. There, you can do that pretty immediately, although there has to be 2 years in between if you're going to get a discharge in your Chapter 13 case. There are cases where you may want to file a Chapter 13 right after a Chapter 7. You discharge all of your debt and fell behind on your mortgage in the middle of it and need to catch that up now. A Chapter 13 can do that for you. But for the most part, you're going to need to wait 2 years before you could get another discharge. Then Chapter 13 to Chapter 13 could be pretty much immediate, but its time is going to be the biggest deciding factor there.
What about the waiting periods between bankruptcy filings? What's the typical amount?
So Chapter 7 to Chapter 7, like I was saying, is 8 years. Chapter 7 to Chapter 13 to get a discharge is 2 years. And Chapter 13 to Chapter 13 or Chapter 13 to Chapter 7 is pretty quick there. You can do it almost immediately.
What types of life events usually lead someone to consider filing again in your experience?
The unexpected is really what the most common thing is going to be. Job loss, divorce, unfortunately. So a large medical expense, the things that you just couldn't anticipate, those are the biggest things that cause it. Now, as I was giving the examples of earlier, though, if just life becomes different than you could have anticipated, we have a global pandemic and you lose your job. Inflation just causes your grocery prices to quadruple, and your gas to do the same. These are the things that are pushing people into having to file again, and they're not things that you really could anticipate or plan for. So if it does happen, it does, and we just have to deal with it. And it's not really something to feel shame over.
What types of life events, is anything more low nuance as far as life events goes that could cause you to do that besides the job, besides the medical expenses? Anything that you've seen that's a little more nuanced than the ones you just mentioned?
Everybody's situation is very personal to them. So there could definitely be nuances in there. You just got into a bad situation with lending. You didn't quite read the fine print and got into a debt that had more interest than you could afford or changed payments along the way. So there's those kind of things there that could cause you to have to file again. The biggest thing is just going to be the unexpected, though, that really causes people to have to file more than once.
So to kind of unpack that a little more, though, if someone filed years ago but later faced something like those medical bills or that job loss or that divorce, how is that second filing evaluated?
For the most part, it's not really looked at any different than a first filing. If the time has gone by, then nobody questions it. The trustees will treat you just like they did the first time that you filed. The trustees out here in New Mexico are all pretty good and aren't going to make you feel like you're being judged. Now, if you continually file, once you get to that fourth, that fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth bankruptcy case, then they're going to start evaluating what you're doing there. I've had 2 cases myself where it's been a lot of filings for a person, and then at that point, usually the U.S. trustee is going to step in and try to get discharge revoked for you and make it so that you have a time period that you cannot file for bankruptcy again. An old trick before electronic filing was around, where you could really see all the filings, was that you would file a Chapter 7 case, discharge your debt, and then they didn't have the same timelines. You could get the automatic stays back then by filing Chapter 13 cases. So you file your Chapter 7, and file Chapter 13s until you could file another Chapter 7 again, and those 13s just keep getting dismissed, holding an automatic stay. And then you file Chapter 7 again and get rid of all the debt again. So those are the people that are scamming the system. And at that point, when you're scamming the system, then there can be repercussions.
Are there solutions where switching chapters for a second filing makes more sense than repeating the same one?
Yes, definitely. And actually, this is probably one of the more nuanced situations that you were talking about before. So You filed your first bankruptcy because you had too much credit card debt, medical bills, so filed a Chapter 7 and got the discharge order on it. Then life happened and you fell behind on your mortgage payments. And now they're looking to foreclose on your house and they're not working with you. You can file that Chapter 13 case, stop that foreclosure in its tracks, and get those arrears repaid over the Chapter 13 payment plan. And if you did incur some unsecured debt, so more medicals, some more credit cards during that time, which is likely, you can get rid of those as well with the new Chapter 13. But the big situation there would be that you're trying to save your house. And that does happen somewhat often.
So for someone who feels discouraged about needing that bankruptcy a second time, how do you help them think through whether another filing is the right move, Jason?
It's like I was saying before, these things happen because life happens. For the most part, these are not people that are out there trying to scam the system. They're in honest debt. They didn't try to get there. Something happened that caused them to get there. They lost their job. They got divorced. Cost of living just went up extraordinarily while wages didn't. These things that you just didn't expect. It wasn't your fault. So having to file again, there's no shame in it. It's a fresh start, just like it was the first time around. And that's why it's there for you. And that's why they say you can file every 8 years. Because even Congress knew when they were making this rule that life happens. So they made it so that you could do it more than once.
It's good stuff, Jason. Good information. Thank you for your time, brother.
Oh, thank you, Evan.
That's it for today's episode of the Fresh Start Podcast. To learn more about attorney Jason Cline and how he can help you navigate bankruptcy with confidence, visit attorneyjasoncline.com. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget to like, subscribe to the show, and share this episode with someone else who might need it. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.